We had a couple of nice dry days a couple weeks ago, and my son came out, cleaned up those pads here on these pilings, and put some more core seal on them. And they dried out pretty good, so I got some little pieces of bitchethane, which is a rubberized roofing membrane, put on top of those to keep them from getting wet again and kind of insulate between that wood and the steel. Hopefully it'll keep the wood from rotting against the steel. And then it poured down rain again for a couple more weeks and got snow. And it broke out into some nice weather here now. It's supposed to be nice for at least a week now. Going to be dry anyway and sunny. It's only supposed to get to 40 degrees in the daytime. It's supposed to get down into the 20s at night, so it's going to be freezing hard at night. And the snow melted out from around back of the house here. So yesterday I got the Bobcat and cleaned all the stuff out of back here and moved it around. And we just got the excavator started and running, and then I just brought it around to put this timber in place here, this sill for the addition. And I took that cover off the water tank, off the cistern. That thing was getting pretty bad shape. It had built up a whole bunch of dirt and crap on top of it, and all of that went down into the tank. Looks like I'm going to have to drain that tank and get in there and wash that out. It's pretty dirty inside there. Anyway, we got the timber in place here, and then I've got yellow cedar 2x12s already lined up to use to frame that floor in. So anyway, I can get this timber lined up, the end of it here, so it's flush with the end of the house, and get it nailed down or screwed down. I'll get that done while we've got opening in the weather here. And like I said, I'm going to have to drain that water tank and get all the mud and crap out of it. It's pretty nasty in there. I just measured that timber, and it's almost exactly 24 feet, so I don't have much wiggle room on that as far as getting it square with this end of the house. Well, I just took a couple of tape measures and set up a 3-4-5 triangle, and I've got this end here almost perfectly flush with that end of the house. Well, now I'll go ahead and get some screws in that and hold it down. What I've got is these timber lock screws or ledger screws. If I drilled holes in those angles before I ever brought them out here to weld them up, and I've got some 2-inch ones that'll go into the side. That timber is officially installed. Well, I think I'm done with this for the day. It's been a couple of weeks now since I first tore that ripped up Tyvek and stuff off the side there with the intent of putting new stuff on. But then it was raining and the sheeting got wet and stuff. I didn't want to put it on while it was wet. Then I got to looking at the base down there, and the weeds and stuff had grown up along that side, and the dirt had filled in along that side, along that rim. Decided I wanted to protect that bottom, that rim sill there and stuff where it's at. So I dug that out, and of course decided that I might as well dig a trench along there for the water to drain, because all the water drains right off that back lot back up there down the driveway and right into the hangar. And of course when I got all that cleaned up and everything, that base was pretty wet, so I waited for that to dry out. Well, we've had some pretty nice weather for the last week. This is the longest dry stretch of weather we've had in almost a year. This is dry enough now that I think I can go to work on it. And what I've planned to do here now is put some bitchethane along that bottom edge of that, right down to the ground, to kind of waterproof that. The bitchethane is a bituminous kind of rubberized product, the roof underlayment. So that's what they recommended to put up against the styrofoam for the styrofoam insulated concrete forms there. And so I've got some of that left over, some odds and ends and scraps, and it's not in good shape. It was stored outside and got wet. The bitchethane is okay, but it's got an adhesive on it, so it self-sticks to whatever you apply it to. Anyway, that has gotten messed up, so it's kind of hard to deal with. But I got that stuff out and stretched it out in the sunshine so I get it dried out. I think I'll go ahead and put that up now. I'm going to run it around that back corner because it was a little wet back in there, and kind of water. It's dried out now. I've had it exposed for a few days now, and it's dried out back there. But I'm going to go ahead and put it around there and bring it around this side. I'll have to patch in a few pieces. I've got a short piece there, one long piece that'll make it a good portion of the way, and then a short piece. Then we got a whole roll up there that I had my son stretch out so it could get dried out, and I can cut whatever I need off of it to finish it up. But just cobble this together here. I've got a staple gun that has these plastic tabs on it for holding down tar paper and house wrap and stuff like that. This is just a cheap gun that I got at Harbor Freight. I got it to try it out. Surprisingly enough, it works really well. The only problem with it was I got it several years ago and they've discontinued it now. It uses these little cartridges here like this. They got plastic caps in it and a pack of staples in it. And I've been down to several Harbor Freight stores now and they don't carry this anymore. Well, I did find some Bostitch ones that I think are going to work, but I've got enough of this left now to put this bitchathane up with, so that's what I'm going to use for that. Well, we got the bitchathane on the side of that. Couldn't have done it without Judy's help. Now that stuff was kind of a pain. Normally the bitchathane has a plasticized paper backing on it, and once you get it put down one edge of it or one start of it, you just start peeling it and it'll lay down, and it's sticky. The bitchathane itself is sticky, and you pull that paper away from it so it'll just stick down right to whatever. This stuff it's probably a little cold. This stuff wouldn't quite stick to that wood there. I think when the sun comes out and hits on it, it'll stick to it. But it's stuck to itself. You have to be real careful not to get it touching itself, because it sticks to itself pretty good. This stuff has been out here in the weather. It would set out and got wet, and that paper backing rotted. It just left kind of a thin plastic, and it was hard to get off there. So it took quite a while to get that stuff off to get it so it would stick on there. But anyway, we got it on there, and I've got it draped down over the bottom of that sill, so hopefully that'll keep the water running away from that once we get that drain rock and stuff in there, and that slope down that way away from that wall. So I came out this morning and bitchathane was all warmed up from the sun, and I smoothed it tight up against the wood. It got nice and sticky on the backside and stuck down to the panel, the wall panel that way. We just come out and started putting up some Tyvek. Judy's been climbing up the ladder, putting the staples in and stuff up there. Anyway, that first row's up there. I've got some rim boards up underneath up there to close in the gap up on the top and the eaves. I'll have to take those down because the Tyvek goes under those, and then we'll have to fit another row of Tyvek up there. But that's enough for today. I'll get things put away right now. Go do something else for a while. What I'm doing now, I've got this drainage ditch that I dug. I just took some ground fabric, some felt, laid down there in that ditch. Now that will keep mud and stuff from coming up through and kind of wick the water down there. And I've got some 2-inch corrugated drain pipe. I bought that and run it around the inside perimeter of the basement in the house before we finish the basement up there for drainage on that. I've got some of that left over, so I just run some of that along there. I've got it covered up partially with some of that felt. Again, that just filters out the dirt and stuff like that, the fines and stuff from going in there and plugging up that pipe. And then we can order up some drain rock and get that ditch filled back in. I got to cut one more little piece of felt to cover up the pipe that's still left exposed, but I'll get that done, and then this will be done until we get some rock, and then we can fill that in, and then I'll get the drain that goes in front of the door. And I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with it, whether I'm just going to bed it in rock and dirt or whether I'm going to make a concrete step there for it. We'll have to wait and see when we get around to it. I rehung the door and adjusted it so it'll close now all the way by itself. I got spring hinges on it, so it kind of closes by itself, even though they're kind of worn and rusty. I need to spray them with a little bit of penetrating fluid or something to get them loosened up. I put the trim back around the door to help hold the Tyvek on to clean that up. Like I said, it holds itself closed now with the spring on the hinges, but when the wind blows it still sucks the door open, so I've got just a little latch on the outside to hold it closed when nobody's in there in the windstorm. Clouding up now and getting a little breezy, so I'm not going to work on the Tyvek anymore. It'll just try to blow away. So we called up the construction company, the rock company, yesterday and ordered 5 yards of drain rock to fill in that ditch. They weren't sure when they were going to come. Thought it was going to be a couple of days, but he showed up this morning. We've had a couple weeks of really nice weather here, dry weather, got everything dried out pretty good. Still got a little bit of snow over here. There's still the snow that come off the roof of the house there, but it's going. Most of it's gone every place else. But anyway, it dried up pretty good around here. But it's supposed to rain this afternoon, and then it's supposed to be decent for the next couple of days, and then Saturday it's supposed to start raining again. We'll get back into a rain pattern. So I'll get this done now while I can, while we got the good weather to do it. I've come out here with a shovel already and put enough rock in to hold that ground cloth down. So I'll get the excavator now and fill that ditch up, and well, I guess 5 yards wasn't too much. This will spread out there pretty good. It's above the level of the floor, level of the wall there on the hanger, but we knew that was going to happen. That's why I put the bituthane up there to protect that and let that water sheet down off of the wall and down into the drainage. Well, I can get the Bobcat out with the 6-way blade on it and straighten it out a little bit more. Once I get this spread out, that 5 yards is going to disappear pretty fast. I kind of got a little bit of a rough start there with that blade not working right. Have to rewire that. But once I got that all done, everything turned out pretty good. Looks a lot more like it does now than it did before. That should work pretty good. Might slope this driveway off a little bit here, so maybe run a little bit kind of a Kelly hump water bar in here so the water runs off this hillside down over into the ditch a little bit more. But otherwise that looks pretty doggone good, I think. Well, one of the projects today is to put the gutters up. The gutters on this side of the house supplies water to the cistern for our domestic water. I try to take those down in the wintertime before the snow starts. I got busy this year and I didn't get a chance to get back here and get them up. So snow builds up on the roof, and then when it slides down, it tears the gutters off of there. We've had a couple weeks of really nice weather here now, but that's supposed to change, and it's supposed to start raining this afternoon. So I figured I'd get those gutters up there and we could start getting water back in that cistern. We haven't had any water flowing in there for, well, all winter. So anyway, we'll get that set up and get those back up there. We got plastic gutters and we got plastic hangers for them, and the hangers just break. the gutters fill up with ice or snow, and then they just the hangers break. So I've got new hangers. I'll get those up, and then we'll put the gutters back up. Well, it's a little easier to do here than it was when I first put them up, because I don't have to get up on the ladder now. I've got the man lift there on the Bobcat, so I'll get Judy to help me with that. See if we can't get the gutters up and get water flowing into the water tank there. Okay, that project is done for another year. We should have water flowing into the water tank now. It hadn't started raining yet today, but it's supposed to start raining this afternoon. So got a couple more projects to do here outside before it starts raining. I had one more little project that got done before the rains came. I'd left that roll of Tyvek around that corner there, and we run the rest of that roll of Tyvek out, which ended right down there where the soccer shed starts. Anyway, I've got all tacked up now, and we finished that just as it started sprinkling. It was supposed to start raining after 4 p.m. today, and it started sprinkling about 2:30, so looked like it was going to start and rain pretty good, but it didn't. Anyway, that takes care of that pretty good. I still got to finish up there around that upper layer up above there, the next row up. But I'm not going to worry about it now. The weather's changed, and it's not that cold weather we had before, and I don't have the guys coming to work on the airplane, so I'm not worried about keeping them out of the weather too much. Anyway, we're all done with that outside stuff for the time being. And,